If you've ever thought about going solar, then you've probably also wondered what it actually looks like when an install crew comes to your house to do that installation. And luckily for you, I'm here with our crew today, and we're going to talk about three things. We're going to talk about what the installation crew actually does while they're here, what you can do to help prepare, and after they're done, they got everything all buttoned up and securely installed, what's actually next. I'm Mitch, by the way, and I'm here with our crew, and the lead of that crew is Vince, who's been installing solar for almost 9 years. And as a company, we've done over 12,000, well over 12,000 of these installs. So let's get into it. Part one, here's what our install crews will be up to. Let's start with the star of the show, the panels. Regardless of what kind of panels you have, they all need to be securely fastened to some sort of racking. Sometimes that's a ground mount. In this case, it's a roof mount, which is very, very common. And that racking needs to be tightly secured with good feet or boots that prevent any sort of leaking. And that's what we did yesterday in this job, making sure all that racking is securely fastened to the structural integrity of the home. So you got your feet, you got your racking, you got your panels, moving on. The next thing is the inverter, and every home's gonna need some sort of inverter to make that power usable. In this case, they put up the inverter yesterday. They're still working on it because they got to connect it all with the wires in order for it to function. This happens to be a 10 kilowatt inverter, but different home with different solar array is gonna have probably a different size inverter. In some cases, if people decide they don't want to add a battery yet to their system, then that power goes straight to a main breaker box or a service panel where it can be used throughout the home and sent back to the grid. Jesus back here is just making sure everything's looking nice and buttoned up tightly so there are zero problems in the future. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, this house is a little special or unique because we are adding the battery with the solar, and we're doing a Franklin battery, which means we also have an aGate, or in other words, another control unit, which basically has kind of two purposes. One, it acts as an extra safety measure and disconnect, and two, it's kind of the brains for the battery itself. Okay, so the last component, main component for this installation is that big, beautiful Franklin battery that you see back there. Is a 15 kilowatt battery, which means this house will have nice, good backup power in an outage. And with this particular battery, it also means that you can discharge to the grid when the utility company credits you for that at higher rates versus other times in the day when it might be lower. Okay, so now that we covered everything that the installers are gonna do, what is it that you as a homeowner could do to make this a little easier? And to be honest, not much. That's why we take on the brunt of the work. But there are a couple things that can make it a little easier, and it's basically access. Access to three different things. One, as you can see, they bring a truck and a trailer. They have a lot of equipment and tools, and to get it as close to where they're gonna be doing the install as possible is great. Secondly, if you know where any of the components are intended to be installed, like in your garage, if you can have that area kind of cleaned out and cleared away so there's good access to work in there, that's primo. And thirdly, if applicable, they may need to access your attic to do wire runs and such. So having clear access to the attic is also very beneficial and helps speed the process along. Now, you don't have to remember all of that, because if you go solar with Big Dog, then we have a nice little set of emails that make sure we communicate all these things to you with every step of the process. I asked the homeowner a few questions about this process, and here's what he had to say. How has the installation gone as far as what your expectations were and what you've seen with the crew?
The crew is great. My expectations have been exceeded. When a crew comes and they look like they know what they're doing, they're clean cut. It makes a difference. You feel comfortable having them invited into your home. So yeah, that means a lot.
Prior to them showing up, did you do anything in particular to prepare for the install crew coming?
Yes, I got a phone call from Big Dog, and they asked that the dogs were kenneled. We did that, and they asked that where the installation was going to be in the garage, that we clean that up. So we tried to have that done for you so that you wouldn't have to worry about it. If your neighbor asks you, hey, what was the install like, or if you were to describe it to them, what would you tell your neighbor? That the install is going to be painless for you. I'm a kind of a do-it-yourselfer, and looking what's done, this is not a do-it-yourself job. It's very technical. So quick recap. We talked about what the installation crew does, and we talked about some of the things that you can do as a homeowner to help the process. Lastly, we're just going to talk about what to expect in the next steps. So it's important to know that your system is not going to be operating on day one, that you have to get it inspected and get it all signed off. Secondly, the utility company
company needs to make sure that everything's good to go and they can accept the power back to the grid and give you permission to operate, or PTO. And lastly, we want to make sure that you are set up with all the monitoring that you need in order to make sure that you're getting the production that you're expecting out of your system. So those are the main things that you'll be doing after the installation part. But again, if you're a Big Dog Solar customer, we're going to feed you this information one step at a time as we go throughout the journey. I hope you stick with us.